European Union invests billions of euros in the protection of its external borders. At the same time, humans fleeing war, persecution and poverty have been afforded no such protection. Thousands of people searching for safety and a decent life are dying in the Mediterranean Sea. Those who survive the life-threatening crossings are increasingly detained and deported from all over Europe. Since the EU-Turkey agreement came into force on the 20th of March 2016, the Aegean Islands have been assigned a special status within the European border control regime. They were transformed into open-air prisons, where people who escaped war and persecution are held under disgraceful living conditions behind barbed wire. Some of them are kept in this state of limbo for more than a year. Outside the legal framework of the Greek mainland, a new asylum procedure has been introduced for the islands only. Even persecuted refugees with well-founded asylum claims will now be sent back to Turkey. Slowly, the island of Lesvos has turned into a deportation hub to Turkey, where many asylum seekers are again detained and eventually deported. The EU still forces asylum seekers back to face persecution and violence abroad, but now it has handed this dirty job on to a non-European country.
زمانی که به اروپا رسیدم استقبال خوبی شد. موقعی که ما رسیدیم از ترکیه رسیدیم به ساحل میتیلینی، یک سری از انجمن‌ها اومدن و از ما استقبال خوبی کردن و ما خیلی خوشحال شدیم، به خاطر اینکه فکر کردیم دیگه رسیدیم به آرامش و اون اروپایی که همیشه مد نظرمون بود. ولی خب این بیشتر از یک ساعت طول نکشید و ما موقعی که رسیدیم کمپ موریا 28 روز ما رو توی کمپ نگه داشتن. ما 28 روز نه تنها توی کمپ، توی یک چادر بزرگ که اسمش قرنطینه بود، 28 روز ما باید توی یک چادر زندگی می‌کردیم بدون که حق رفتن به خود کمپو داشته باشیم. ما رسیدیم موریا، تو همون لحظات اول اصلا نذاشتن ما یه دوشی بگیریم و یه ذره استراحت کنیم. خب ما 10 روز 10 شب توی جنگل خوابیده بودیم، خیلی مسیر بدی اومده بودیم، ممکنه تو دریا جونمون از دست بدیم و خیلی حالمون بد بود. گرسنه بودیم، تشنه بودیم، خسته بودیم. بدون اینکه بذارم ما یک روز استراحت کنیم و بعد از اون از ما سوال جواب کنن، به محض که رسیدیم از ما یه بیانیه آوردن و به ما گفتن که اینو باید امضا کنید. روزها و شبای خیلی بدی دیدم، از جمله این بود که در سر آتش سوزی، چون هوا خیلی سرد بود و مردم مجبور بودن که توی چادرشون آتش روشن کنن، در سر آتش سوزی مادر و دختری جلوی چشمای ما سوختن و مردن. متاسفانه توی سرما 10 نفر از پناهنده ها توی سرما مردن. لاینای غذایی ما حدودا ما باید 1200 نفر رو هر روز هم برای صبحونه، هم برای نهار، هم برای شام میرفتیم و وای میسادیم تا بعد از 1200-1300 نفر آدم به ما یه انقدر مثلا غذا بدن.
I remember like the first deportation because we had a boat coming from Turkey that morning and we had just managed to get them on land and we had to have the Coast Guard go out and kind of tow their boat in. So at the same time as our boat is coming in and we are like, yeah, you know, they made it, at the same time the first deportation happened next to it. And honestly I've never felt so, it felt like a bad joke, right? Because we're sitting there and we're working our asses off to make sure that they can find safety, and our guys in this particular boat has just made it and we're celebrating, and then we see these other guys being deported like next to them.
Essentially, in Lesvos, people have been trapped on this island since the EU-Turkey statement a year ago, and if they're still here when they have their cases rejected and their appeals rejected, they're subject to being deported to either their home country or to Turkey. So now anyone who comes from a country where over 25% of people from their country receive international protection in Europe, they now are going through an admissibility procedure. So that means individuals from Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Congo, Eritrea, Ethiopia now have to show that Turkey is not a safe third country for them.
فعال حقوق بشر بودم در ایران. اولین دستگیری من مربوط میشه به سال 84. شدم به 6 ماه انفرادی رفتم. توی 6 ماه انفرادی شکنجه‌های زیادی شدم. از جمله از این شکنجه‌ام 3 بار اعدام مصنوعی شدم و تاندون پام پاره شد، دندونامو شکوندن و خیلی از شکنجه‌های روحی و روانی دیگه. و در نهایت بعد از 3 سال حبس از زندان آزاد شدم. البته قبل از این پدر من رو در دهه 70 سپاه پاسداران کشته بوده و بعد از اون برادرم رو اعدام کردن و بعد از اون برادر بزرگتر ما 5 سال حبس و خودم در نهایت چندین بار دستگیر و زندانی شدم. دلیل دستگیری هم فقط به خاطر این بود که من فعالیت‌های حقوق بشری انجام میدادم. من و برادرم با هم دیگه توی انجمن فعال، یعنی من انجمن ما تأسیس کردم و برادر من یکی از اعضای انجام بود، یعنی بیشتر کارها رو برادر من انجام میداد توی ایران، مخصوصا وقتی که از ایران اومدم بیرون و دیگه فقط برادرم بود. یه نکته خیلی جالب توجهی که هست و ذهن منو مشغول کرده اینه که من و برادرم اولا که با هم خانواده ایم، دوم این که ما با هم دیگه تو یک روز رسیدیم و سوم این که ما کیسمون یکی هست، یعنی هر جفتمون کیس فعالیت حقوق بشریه. ولی بعد از 6-7 ماه اول اینترویو برادر من صورت برادرم خب توی اینترویوش رد شد ولی من توی اینترویوم قبول شدم.
There's a really narrow definition of who is a refugee under Greek and international law, and also a lot of people who are refugees are being rejected in Greece. Greece has one of the lowest approval ratings for granting international protection in all of Europe. One of the reasons that a lot of people are rejected here, I think, is because there's not a lot of access to legal aid. People don't know who's a refugee under international law. They don't know what they need to show in order to get refugee status. So they go into their interviews really not knowing how to explain their story, even if they do have a fear that they'll be persecuted if they're sent back to their home countries. Also seen in decisions that the asylum services relying on Wikipedia to make their decisions is claiming they don't find the village that someone says they're from in Google Maps, so they're denying it because they say we don't believe you're credible because we can't find your village, where it was just a spelling mistake. So things like that, like really minor things, they're using to deny people refugee status.
I had a friend who was from Bangladesh. He's dead now, and he fled from Bangladesh because he was a political activist, and his brother was also a political activist. And when we learned that he was going to get deported, we tried. Basically, I was running around everywhere trying to get every person I could think of to take his case, and I couldn't get anyone to take it. So a week before he got deported, his brother was killed in Bangladesh. They burned him to death. And and I had these photos of his body, and I showed it to everyone I could think of that could help, and I said they're gonna send this guy and he's gonna be dead. Like as soon as they send him there, he's dead. As soon as he comes off the plane, he's dead. And everybody was like, yeah, we can't really help him. So, and then he got deported. I spoke with him a couple of hours before, and then they sent him, and now he's dead.
So we've represented a few individuals and taken their case on for appeal who we believe do meet the definition of who's a refugee, even the limited definition that exists, and they've had their cases rejected on appeal as well. And so these are people that really do fear going back to their home countries because they faced persecution in the past, and they fear that they will face persecution if they return to their home countries. And we've seen that their cases aren't being taken seriously a lot of times.
People are not fleeing for no reason. That's the thing. Like you don't leave your home and your everything you have that is valued to you for no apparent reason, you know. So if you flee for your life and then you get sent back, it's just a matter of time before you're dead. So that's what I mean with sent today.
huge problem in Greece, and in particular in Lesbos, is that there's been a lot of pressure for people to voluntarily return to their home countries. So IOM has been working closely with the Greek government to provide incentives and coerce people to voluntarily return to their home countries and give up their right to seek international protection in Greece.
Forced voluntarily, sign the paper. I don't know what it says. Sign it anyway. Okay, that is not voluntarily for me.
But voluntary returns, I think, are also pressured just by the horrible conditions of an asylum seeker in Greece and on Lesbos. So if you are forced to be stuck on an island for months and months with no idea about your future, if you're living in really horrible conditions, if you see other people from your country being rejected, a lot of people are giving up and choosing to voluntarily go back because of all these reasons. And so a lot of people who actually have a strong fear of being persecuted are, instead of seeking protection, which is their right, are giving up, and Europe is allowing these refugees to go back to situations that are really dangerous for them. So I know one individual who was stuck on Lesbos for, I think, about 6 months, and he had been accepted in a university in the United States, but he couldn't access the US Embassy to get a visa because he was stuck on Lesbos. And so he decided to voluntarily return to his country so that he could get a visa to continue his education. And as soon as he returned back to his home country, he was arrested. He was held for about 2 weeks, and he was severely tortured.
I mean, if they're getting deported to Turkey, Turkey's not a safe country. Everybody knows that Turkey is not a safe country. Just because European Union doesn't want to have problems in Europe. One guy, he was taken back to Turkey, put in a prison, very far east, and he managed to call from a payphone. And what they had told him was basically that you're going to be here for 1.5 years. He hasn't committed any crime,
Turkey actually doesn't provide refugee protections to anyone who's not European. So Turkey has signed the Refugee Convention, but they actually only provide refugee protection to European citizens. They have a temporary protective status for Syrians, but this also doesn't provide Syrians with all the rights that's guaranteed to them under the Refugee Convention. Even for Syrians, Turkey is not a safe third country, but for non-Syrians, if you are sent back from Greece to Turkey, you're immediately detained. You're held in a repatriation center. So by the name, it gives you an indication of what Turkey intends to do with these people. And most people are, in fact, deported back to their home countries.
We actually had a boat. They were trying to cross to Greece. Their boat sank. We had to send the Turkish Coast Guard. They took them, they detained them for 3 weeks, and then suddenly they sent them to Iraq. And these guys were Yazidis. So if you there is like a genocide going on, and everybody knows that. So sending Yazidis back to Iraq, a whole group of them, and of course we lost contact with all of them, and we assumed that they did. I'm watching every deportation. I have never felt so powerless in my life.
و برادرم موقعی که اینترویوش رد شده بوده بار دوم بهش نگفته بودم و برادرم رفته بود که کارت شناساییش رو که همون اوزبایس ما بهش میگیم رفته بود اون رو عوض کنه تاریخش رو، چون تاریخش رو 1 ماه به 1 ماه باید معمولا عوضش کرد. رفته بود اون رو عوض کنه و بدون که بهش بگن اون همونجا بهش دستبند زده بودن، انگار که مثلا یه دوز یا یه مجرم گرفته بودن و دستبند زده بودن و برده بودنش بازداشتگاه. حدود 10-15 روز توی بازداشتگاه موریا بود. بعد صبحش میان بهش میگن که میخوان ببریمتون آتن که اینها شروع نکنن. بعد اینا سوار ماشین میشن و میرن. بعد برادر من توی اونجا میگه که من میخوام با برادرم تماس بگیرم و بهش بگم که دارم کجا میرم، باهاش خداحافظی کنم، ولی نمیذارم با من تماس بگیره. و میگه خب میخوام با وکیلم تماس بگیرم و اونو در جریان بذارم، ولی باز هم به اون هم برای تماس با وکیلش هم اجازه نمیدن و در نهایت یکی از دوستانی که توی راه دیده بود که امیر رو دارن میبرن برای دیپورت به من زنگ میزنه و میگه که جریان اینه و امیر الان بردن کشتی که دیپورتش کنن.
A couple of weeks ago, there was an individual whose case had been denied. His case had been denied on appeal, but it had already been found that Turkey was an unsafe country for him. So this is an individual who he passed the admissibility phase of his application. The Greek government found Turkey was an unsafe country for him, but then his asylum claim was rejected. So putting aside the issue of whether or not he actually has an asylum claim, they were going to deport to Turkey someone who they'd found Turkey was unsafe for. And at the last minute, his lawyers were able to intervene, and we were able to mobilize a group of people to go physically to the port to try to stop the deportation.
که من سریع با وکیلش تماس گرفتم، اومدم موریا، با دوستای خودم تماس گرفتم، وکیلم و UN و همگی جمع شدیم و بالاخره امیر رو لحظه آخر از کشتی تونستیم که نجاتش، یعنی کشتی روشن شد داشته میرفته، امیر رو تونستیم که نجاتش بدیم.
And at the last minute he was pulled off the ferry, but this is an individual whose brother is also in Lesbos, so his brother was on the outside and knew what was happening and could call the lawyer, could call other individuals and kind of mobilize last minute to get him off the ferry, but most individuals don't have family here, don't have people they can call last minute, and so it's probable that there's other individuals who are also being illegally deported.
بعد از اینکه از اونجا میاد پایین دوباره امیر برمیگردونم بازداشتگاه، ولی این بار بازداشتگاه میتیلینی و الان امیر 1 ماه و نیمه که بیگناه بدون که گناهی مرتکب شده باشه الان توی بازداشتگاه و روحیاتش بسیار بسیار خرابه و واقعا نیاز به دکتر داره و ما هر روز داریم میگیم که امیر نیاز به روانشناس داره به خاطر استرس و به خاطر فشار روحی که بهش وارد شده، ولی هیچ ترتیب اثری داده نشده و تا حالا امیر دکتر نبردن، تا حالا به امیر رسیدگی نکردن.
Yeah, one really worrying thing about the deportations that are happening now in Lesbos is there's not really any oversight. So there's no like record of who's being deported until after the fact. Doesn't seem to be any sorts of internal checks to make sure that everyone who's deported actually has exhausted their remedies in Greece. So this is a huge problem because people are being processed by the Greek Asylum Service really quickly now, and without a lot of oversight, so we don't know a lot of times who are the people who are being rejected and who's being deported back to Turkey and back to their home countries.
I feel like I'm participating in murder, you know? Just by being here, just by watching it, just by knowing about it and not being able to stop it. So, honestly, this situation, I thought it was bad when people were drowning like crazy. I thought it was bad when they started closing the borders. But this, it's like it's crossed every, you know, like Europe is fucking killing people. At one point, the people living now, including us, will be held responsible for this, you know? And I fucking hope that will happen, because this is absolutely awful and wrong.
و متاسفانه همه این اتفاقات و همه اتفاقاتی که هر روز داره اینجا میفته اون برداشت و ذهنیت من از اروپای بسیار خوب، اروپایی که ما نمادی از سمبولی از حقوق بشر میدونستیم، متاسفانه همه اینها خراب شد تو ذهن من. الان برادر من توی بازداشتگاهه و من اینجا هستم، در صورتی که برادر من هیچ جوری مرتکب نشده. ما پناهنده اینجا هستیم، ما پناه آوردیم به اتحادیه اروپا و خوب نبود که با پناهنده ها اینجور رفتار کنن. البته فقط برادر من نیست و خیلی هستن که دیپورت شدن بی سر و سابقه، هیچ کسی نفهمیده. اگر امیر الان برگشته و دیپورت نشه به خاطر اینکه یه برادر داشت، به خاطر اینکه دوستانی داشت که باشون دسترسی داشت، ولی خب خیلی از بچه‌هایی که بنگلادشی هستن، پاکستانی هستن، الجزایری، افغانی‌ها، اینها خب شاید ممکنه برادری، دوستی نداشته باشن که بخوان در جریان بزنن کسای دیگه رو و همینجوری بی سر و صدا دیپورت میشن به ترکیه. در حالی که ترکیه اصلا کشور امنی نیست و اینا همه میدونیم. مثلا نیازی به این نیستش من توضیح بدم که چرا ترکیه امنه، چرا ایران امن نیست. درخواست من از اتحادیه اروپا درخواست اضافه ای نیست. درخواست من اینه که پایبند 31 بند مواد حقوق بشر باشن، پایبند حرفای خودشون و قوانین خودشون باشن. درخواست من از اتحادیه اروپا اینه که همونطور که همون قدر که احترام و عزت و کرامت انسانی شهروندای خودشون رو حفظ میکنن، کرامت بقیه انسان‌ها رو هم حفظ کنن. انسان‌هایی که از خاورمیانه، از آسیا میان پناهنده کشورهای اروپایی میشن، انسان‌های بدی نیستن، لزوما انسان‌های گشنه‌ای نیستن. هر کدوم از اینها توی کشور خودشون و توی شهر خودشون برای خودشون کسی بودن، هر کدوم برای خودشون شغلی داشتن، زندگی داشتن، یه زندگی آبرومندانه و شرافتمندانه داشتن. هیچ کدوم هم نمی‌خواستن که بیان کشور دیگه و سربار یک کشور دیگه و سربار یک ملت دیگه‌ای باشن. مجبور شدن که بیان. و متاسفانه اگر مثلا در کشورهای اروپایی، امریکایی یک نفر به اسم مهاجر میاد و یه حرکت تروریستی انجام میده، این نشون دهنده این نیستش که همه پناهنده های خاورمیانه، همه پناهنده‌ای که خاورمیانه‌ای هستن تروریست هستن یا آدم‌های بدی هستن. پناهنده ها دیگه چیزی ندارن، همه چیشون از دست دادن، خونه، زندگی، همه چیشون رو. فقط نیاز به آرامش دارن، فقط نیاز به این دارن که بهشون احترام گذاشته بشه. اگر قرار نیست پناهنده‌ای رو قبول کنین، خیلی زودتر تکلیفش روشن بشه، نه اینکه مثل برادر من 8 ماه 9 ماه توی کمپ، توی سرما، توی گرما، توی اون همه بدبختی و فلاکت و تحقیر بمونه و زندگی کنه. بعد از 8 ماه 9 ماه خیلی‌ها دیپورتشون کنین به ترکیه، بخوایم دیپورتشون کنین به ایران. چه زندگی سرسام آوریه، چه زندگی اعصاب خورد کنیه توی کمپ زندگی کردن، توی چادر زندگی کردن، توی سرما، توی گشنگی. شما برای یه دونه گرفتن یه دونه کیک برای صبحونت باید 1500 نفر رو صف رد کنی، بعد آخر سر با تحقیر و بی‌احترامی بخوای اون کیک رو بگیری بخوری. به ما یاد بدید، شما که مدعی حقوق بشر هستید، شما که مدعی زندگی متمدنانه هستید، به ما یاد بدید این زندگی رو و این منش رو به ما یاد بدید. بذارید ما از رفتار شما یاد بگیریم، نه فقط از شعارهایشون.
People who come to Europe looking for freedom and safety find themselves detained like criminals. Many of them are already traumatized on arrival. After a deadlocked year of inhumane living conditions and abusive treatment, they are left hopeless, despairing, and mentally scarred. Human rights activists who survived violence and persecution in their home countries and throughout their flight are now trying to commit suicide in Europe. Others see no option save returning to their home countries, even to face further persecution. Once refugees are deported, Europe turns a blind eye to their fate. Arash and his brother Amir are not willing to accept the maltreatment of refugees. They went on hunger strike. For 14 days they have refused all food. While Amir is detained behind barbed wire in Moria prison camp, Arash sits in the central square of Mytilene, the principal town of Lesbos. He demands the release of his brother and all detained refugees. So far there has been no reaction by the authorities. Whether refugees live or die is not considered important enough to cause a reaction. It seems that in Europe, human rights are only granted to a small elite. Arash is determined to continue his protest. He explains, "A life without freedom is worthless and meaningless for us. You must release the refugees, or we shall end our lives in front of your eyes. Free us, or else be responsible for our death. We will keep waiting until the last drop of life falls from our bodies." It is up to the Iranian people to decide whether human rights shall be granted to refugees, to decide whether they shall live or die.